Hello and welcome to this channel, to this video. I was thinking about the internet and being online and scrolling through digital images. I read this little tiny book. I gave it 3 stars. I stand by it, even though I don't understand the star system, and I tend to wield it like an emotional tool, more like however I'm feeling that day in the moment than any real objective criteria for a piece of art that somebody wrote with their being in their time on Earth. So the star system's whatever, like rating a book, X number of stars. But this little book, which is called Perfection, you can read in like 2 hours, and I read it, and it's wormed its way into my brain because pretty much everything that happens is really boring, but it's these characters living these aesthetic lives and very adapting themselves and their environment to achieve what they're seeing in their algorithms. Now, I don't know what you see in your, when you open Instagram or when you're doing anything on YouTube. I get a sense that I see stuff very similar to these characters in this book, which is like, I get a lot of aesthetic photographs of people with espressos and books, like the coffee in the book, and I get a lot of very tasteful apartment interiors, and I get fitness and movement, lymphatic drainage. I get a ton about van living, which has wormed itself into my brain as well. The point is, these poor people, as boring as they already are not immune to this influx of images, which muddies their life. It doesn't make them frantic. It leads to this kind of glaze over everything that's awkward and odd and a little bit unsatisfied and agitated, as they perpetually chase pleasure and the promise. They're in a state of promise. They're being perpetually promised. Now, that's what I wanted to talk about. The state of perpetual promise that I feel when I look at Instagram or anything where I'm being promised, shown this sense that happiness or this concept of contentment or order is just right there. There's something about me that's kind of awkward and that I haven't been able to reach for it, right? That's kind of the setup. Like my little espresso machine downstairs and my mocha pot, even my mocha pot, like making coffee, that's nothing. Me doing that is nothing compared to some of the mocha pot people on Instagram making beautiful honey-colored, toasty-looking, little cute espressos and cappuccinos right from home, presented tastefully on a tray with like a flower. Man, I got nothing on that. Similarly, I live in one of the coolest cities in the world, and lately, all I've been thinking about is Australia. Where did that come from, you guys? Why? And it's not even, I've never been to Australia. I don't know anybody from Australia. Lately, I have this sense I want to live in a van on a mythical beach in Australia where I can be barefoot all day. So, what's going on there? Instead of, I don't know, I'm not even adventuring in London anymore. I'm just here. Why am I dreaming about Australia? Well, it's because there's a few people actually I saw on Instagram who who are living in Australia and living out of vans and are barefoots and eating super healthy looking food out of wooden bowls. Well, you see, that's gonna appeal to me because I'm scrounging around the reality of trying to pay bills and keep everything clean. So this flat image of young men topless living in a van with, being tan and fit and eating bananas, yeah, that appeals to me. It's like this, I think. I'm just gonna share how I feel. You know those deep sea explorers? Those little pods that are like big and round, and people sit in them in this bubble and they go deep in the ocean and scan their little lights over everything. I feel like that. I feel like the digital opens up this realm in my brain. There's like the deep core of the brain, yeah? And that's true interiority. I love being there. You have to be there to do anything creative, I think, to make meaning and to think, to come to new conclusions. The deep interior. It's where you heal, it's where you process now, Then, so there's the interior, then there's the exterior, and then there's this kind of aquarium-like corridor, a hallway or something, which is the interior but exterior. So these marine biologists and stuff in these rovers, they're outside. They're inside the rover so that they can be in this little vast wonderland of stuff. It seems like it's empty, but it's full of stuff. Why does being on my phone scrolling Instagram videos feel like I'm in that freaking rover and I'm traveling, but everything I'm looking at has its own little ecology. Every little clip, every little photo is its own organism with its own structure and its own context that bewilders me. And the diversity taken as a whole bewilders me. And I end up feeling like I'm just navigating this field of zoosnow. In the deep ocean, that kind of like snow that's actually creatures. That I'm just drifting alone through a field of zoosnow, and I'm traveling, and it's fake travel, but it's restless like real travel. And during my travel, I think, oh man, when I come home, right, I get off my phone and I've surfaced and I'm back in the real world, in my real life, in my room. Just like in real travel, I think, I saw that espresso machine on my travels, and now I need that. Wow. When you go on vacation and you think, I have to have that, whatever, tinned fish, that particular wine. Oh, I need that now, I need that. You go and you encounter another way of living, and travel changes you, and you come home. In this case, it's digital travel, so you end up still feeling like, I need that outfit. I need this updated style that those people in that quote-unquote place, whatever that place is, are wearing. In that place, it could be clips of, people walking through Paris, New York, Tokyo. So it all creates this kind of nether place, this abstracted myth of a city or Europe, fill in the blank. For me, Australia, which just means heat, sun, health. But I just end up in this stinky little rover traveling through this crazy snow raining down all over, and I emerge on the surface having been blinded and bewildered by life, and I feel restless and like, oh, I need this, I'm not happy, blah blah blah. What's really funny too is the couple in this book. They go to Sicily on like a vacation so they can work on their laptops, but they end up in like not picturesque digital Sicily. They end up in prima materia Sicily. You know what I mean? Like a nothing town, like ugly kinda. The prima materia reality, like I think my childhood town is like that, and that can be kind of anticlimactic, you know, where you're just like not happy because it's boring or it's not aesthetic or you can't romanticize it, you know. So this couple just cannot deal with prima materia Sicily. They don't have any fun. They don't have enough money to encounter a very specific kind of experience with Sicily. And I think that's the magic, you know, and magic, by the way, being neutral, neither good nor bad, just very potent. That's the magic of the digital voidscape, because it makes you unsatisfied with your prima materia. It makes you look around in every crack and messiness and, you know, impotent, cluttered desk. Makes you sigh and say, ew, how gross, and everyone trying to elevate and glow up. And sometimes being in the voidscape, it really works, and it works on you. It's helped me, quote unquote, glow up in certain ways. It's pointed me toward health in certain aspects, but it's also made me pine for a mythological Australia, and it's bewildered me like travel exhausts me. And when I surface, I'm all scrambled, and I realized all that scrolling and time spent alone, I still wasn't interior. I didn't sink into the interior of me. I've been trapped in that freaking rover, just navigating the deep sea. You know, you get pale and your eyes get really big and glazed over, and you end up just looking like one of those little white creatures down there that never sees the sun. That's how I feel. Full of dreams about what life could be. This book, though, does a good job of showing this couple in a way where they are never happy. They always are kind of chasing and responding to their sense of discomfort and dissatisfaction with their own humanity. I think it does a good job of suggesting or showing in a really kind of bland way that they are kind of put in that position to a certain extent by the structures around them. So this couple, they moved to Berlin. You know, they're young, they do freelance creative work, and they moved to Berlin. I think it's suggested somewhere in Southern Europe. That's not very exciting. They leave their little hometown, they go to Berlin, and as the book progresses, the city becomes gentrified and it changes, and they get into the art scene, and everything that happens is just boring, really, because even though they're really in it, I think like anyone who has been in those spaces, they're very hollow, they're very shallow. Everybody in these spaces is from such a unique point all over the world. They're kind of wonderful and diverse, but everything is flattened into the culture of the space. So you do the artist talk, you adopt the posturing, aesthetic posturing, and so all of this lifestyle in Berlin, this kind of scene chasing that these people are doing, is not satisfactory, because you chase a scene, you chase a scene. A scene is held up by these invisible contracts and threads of this shared monoculture, which kind of eclipses and sometimes even clashes with who you really are on the inside. This scene also ends up becoming tangled in money and in immigration. So the book talks about people from the US coming over and buying up cheap real estate in Berlin, and the price of everything going up, and living, that clean, aesthetic life of abundance and space ends up costing a lot of money. And it kind of prices this couple out in a way that's interesting. This book, by the way, it offers no answer to that restlessness of chasing the scene, chasing that next sense of completeness and satisfaction. It just gives you this longing for touching grass, to surface from the rover, to come home, That's what it imparted in me, is this sense of really wanting to touch grass, and where that grass is, what home means, what that means. That's unanswered in the book. It's unanswered, I think, in me as a person as well, because everything is changing all the time. So where am I locating my stability? When I come out of the rover, where is home? I don't necessarily have a rational answer, only that a feeling occurs, and home involves a lot of that interiority. It involves being truly interior for long periods of time, and it involves a prima materia exterior. So not a scene, not a resort. I don't do well in scenes, or in groups of people that are kind of really bonded by that unspoken, cultural rules. I don't do well. So for me, maybe quote-unquote real life is a sealed interior where I get to spend a lot of time, and an exterior like a city or a place where I talk to a lot of people diversely, the prima materia, where things are messy and raw and break. I would say I don't have a formula for authenticity. Probably in my head, I would have to say it would involve those two things. A strong sense of interiority in spending a lot of time there, and then some prima materia, some chaos, and a diversity of a diverse ecology of people and thought. It's not necessarily, we're not all putting our hands on the little contract of quote-unquote a scene. So anyway, scrolling Instagram is like scrolling through the detritus of a million scenes. Every piece of media has a context that runs miles and miles beneath it, but I only see the very surface, these little flashes of the zoosnow. I end up becoming completely bewildered, and the whole thing's really boring. And this book, actually, to be honest with you, I don't think it's that great. I think it's great, but it's not. I can't tell if it's. I don't. You read it like a flash, almost like a post itself. Like this is an Instagram post. It somehow covers a lot, but it doesn't have any depth at all. No emotional depth. It's just told from a kind of top-down narrator, just telling you everything that happens very dispassionately. But that might be the point, maybe. I have to say, I love when I read a book and then I'm thinking about it later. In this book, I just keep thinking about it. And it's making me really question my attachment to Australia and where the heck that came from had nothing to do with anything in my life. This was just a ramble about this book. It's called Perfection. This is by Vincenzo, Latronico. I'm not sure. And again, it's really short. I think this is worth reading because it's a very interesting record of our times. I don't think it's a very emotionally engaging book, but it's a very thought-provoking book. It's his talent is very consistent as well across the whole thing. I really would recommend it. I might even change my review to 4 stars. I don't know, but I recommend reading this if you're interested. I'm going to spend the rest of my day in the prima materia, interacting with coffee, and unaesthetically working and stretching, so no big deal. I hope that you are well, whatever you're up to. I hope that you're reading something good, or watching something good, or living something good. I will see you very, very soon in the next video. So, good night if you're going to sleep. And if not, then